Okay, so we are continuing our amazing teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov in the Sefer Sichot Haran. We're up to paragraph Nun Vav 56, and we'll be doing a couple of different teachings today. B'ezrat Hashem. So tonight, the first teaching is actually it's talking about different kinds of Yetzer Hara, different kinds of the subconscious of our being. And he talks about the fact that some people that they think that something is not an issue, and they shouldn't be so sure of themselves, because the truth is that sometimes a person thinks that something is not an issue, but the truth is it actually is an issue. So he writes like this: sometimes you have a person that thinks that they are beyond a certain taiva, a certain lust. For example, his example is taivas mammon. His example is that they're not excited about money. Like some people, they're just obsessed with money. They're addicted to making money. I've spoken about this about many times, that according to Judaism, taivas mammon is one of the taivas. It's a bad thing. It's a bad lust. There's taivas achila. There's lust for food. Taivas hamishkal. There's sexual lust, and there's taivas mammon, and there's the lust for money. And it's unique to Judaism that we look at this as a bad thing. Like as Rav Moshe Weinberger once said, that like there's lots of support groups for people who are trying to overcome their addiction to overeating, and people who are trying to overcome their addiction to porn and sex. And like he hasn't yet heard about a support group for people who are trying to overcome their addiction to making money. And like yeah, I remember like after I made my 10th million, I was telling myself, okay, come on, and but I couldn't take it. And I just hi, my name is Abraham, and I'm an addict. And the opposite, the Western culture looks to people who are billionaires, that they're addicted to making money, that they're our heroes, and we want to what's your secret? What's your And Rabbi Nachman says, the Torah says that no, this is a problem. You need to stop being addicted to money. You need to stop being addicted to making money. So you have a person that he can think that yeah, that's not my thing. That's not my thing. I'm not obsessed with money. I'm a simple person. Baruch Hashem, that's not my issue. That's not my issue. So v'da she'afal pikein yachal shehu garua yoser mechaver shehu meshuka be'es hatayva. It could be that you're actually worse than your friend that you see that you have a friend that you know that your friend actually has this issue. Now, what would it look like to have taivas mammon? Taivas mammon would be that you're a workaholic and you don't spend time with your children. You don't invest in self-care. You don't care about. You're obsessed with making money, and you don't enjoy life. So you tell yourself that no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't have that issue. I don't have that issue. It could be that you're actually worse than your friend that does. Because what could it be? That you have a different taiva, you have a different lust, that you are so obsessed with that lust, it could be that actually that your taivas mammon is just as strong as your friends. It's just that you happen to have a different taiva that's even worse. It's even worse than that. That you are obsessed with food. You're obsessed with the Grand Prix. You're obsessed. I know I just heard that was last week, and you're obsessed. You're obsessed. Or this week, you're obsessed with sports. You're obsessed with the stock market. You're obsessed with your status. You're obsessed with getting likes. You're excited. You're obsessed with something. You're obsessed with alcohol. You're obsessed with something else, and because you're so obsessed with something else, so even though the obsession with money is a very, very strong taiva, but your other obsession, it overpowers the other obsession. So it's not that you never worked on it. It's not like that you're okay. It's just that you're distracted, and your thoughts are on something else. That you're so obsessed with Netflix that making money doesn't talk to you. But if suddenly there would be someone, yes, absolutely, and if at the moment that thing goes away, so then your taivas mammon is just as great or greater than the other guy, and it just never had the chance to express itself. So he says. And don't tell yourself, no, that can't be, because the things I'm obsessed with are objectively smaller, like Netflix. Like Netflix, I would say, is objectively smaller than the desire to be powerful, the desire to make money. And so a person says, no, I'm only addicted to my phone. I'm only addicted to my phone. It can't be that I'm actually about a taivas mammon. That can't be because the desire for it to be addicted to my phone is much smaller than the desire for power and for money. So he says it doesn't work like that. That sometimes you have with a child, that sometimes that they have a certain obsession that they don't want to do whatever their mother says, and they want to continue playing in the sandbox, and that's their thing, and their mother says, if you don't come right now, so then you're not going to get dessert. And he says, I don't care. I'm going to say, no, I need my sandbox, only my sandbox. And then he says, if you don't do that, then you're gonna have to go in the corner for 5 hours. And the kid doesn't care. The guy he's just so super focused on that he wants the sandbox right now. So it's more important to him the sandbox than things which are objectively much greater. So you can have an adult that has the same problem. Just because you are not involved with something greater doesn't mean that you don't have it. It's very possible for a person to objectively be obsessed with something stupid, and because he's so obsessed with something stupid, so that's why he's distracted from other great taivas. So a person can never actually tell himself that, no, I'm good, I've overcome this. So this is Torah Nunvav. This is Rabbi Nachman's teaching that the person shouldn't be so quick to think that he has overcome something, because there's other ways to explain this. Yeah, this is for you. And so now the question is, like, what exactly is he teaching us? What exactly is the message? What exactly is the message? So first of all, I think that there is a certain element of self-awareness. I think presumably this is his main message to us, that we should have an element of understanding that we shouldn't be so quick to think that we have reached spiritual levels, because it's very possible that we're very, very messed up on the inside, and just it hadn't yet had a chance to pop out, hasn't yet had its moment in the spotlight, and that's why a person should never assume that they've reached a certain spiritual goal just because it doesn't bother him on a regular basis. Okay, so a person should have a healthy caution regarding, like, anything that is a problem, anything that the Torah says is something that we should be avoiding. So there's a pasuk that says, "Ashrei Adam mefachet tamid," that fortunate is the person that always has a certain anxiety, and the Chazal say that it's talking about b'divrei Torah. It's talking about a spiritual anxiety, like an anxiety of, like, hey, I have to be careful. I can't trust myself to go to hang out with these kinds of people. I can't trust myself to be in this kinds of environment. I can't trust myself to be alone with this kind of problem. That like a person, it's healthy to have a certain anxiety that you never know. Like I'd rather be on the safe side when it comes to situations that I might mamish mess myself up. So it's always healthy not to tell myself, I'm beyond that. Okay, that's number one. The person should always be aware that the Yetzer Hara is a strong entity, and never to think that I'm too good for that. I've graduated from that. I don't need to be concerned about that. Okay, so and this is something that I think it's healthy to, like, a person should, like, things like taivas achila. A person should, even if something hasn't really been bothering a person for the last couple of whatever, as long as he can remember, but to know that I'm not beyond that. Like I could also be this person that's like obsessed with food in a way that's like disgusting. To not to make fun of it in a way that this is reality. This reality that the Gemara talks about. That if you think you're beyond something, like the Gemara talks about somebody that was saying Gira beit and said like who tell the Yetzer Hara like here I'm going to poke you in the eye, like I would like make fun of the Yetzer Hara, make fun of different taivas and it says that when you do that, so the Yetzer Hara he gets all strong. So like I'll show you, like you think you're bigger than me. I'm someone to be reckoned with. You don't you make fun of me. So like if you happen to be that this like a certain element of serving Hashem comes easy for you. So just say thank you. Just like don't belittle the taiva. Don't make fun of the fact that other people struggle with it. If other people struggle with it, so it's very possible that you're just as bad as them. Like the Gemara talks about even avodah zarah, something that none of us struggle with avodah zarah. And the Gemara talks about that once that there was two Amoraim that they were making fun of. They're making fun of avodah zarah. They're like what were they thinking? Like it was just mamish like mocking people that were worshiping avodah zarah. And
who were making fun?
Amoraim. Oh. Amoraim. The Gemara that they were mocking avodah zarah. And so it says that who was it? One of the kings of Israel. There was a big avodah zarah. Achav, I think it was Achav. Achav came to them in a dream. Achav came to them in a dream, and
I think you mean Menashe actually.
Menashe?
Yeah, it's Menashe. I know what you're talking about.
And he came to them in a dream, and he says that you think that you can make fun of me. If you would have been alive in my generation, I was so much greater than you. Nobody would have paid attention to you. You would have been like the novices. You would have been the losers of the class. If you would have been in my generation, that you would be running. You would say you would pick up the curtails of your coat to be able to run faster to worship avodah zarah. Like you were not just are you the loser in Gemara. You have much less Yiras Shamayim than me. That if you would have had the test that I had, you would have failed much quicker than me. Right? And so there's Menashe. Okay, so it begets that the Gemara is telling us that you can never don't be so quick to think that you're above something. You should just, if you don't have an issue with something, just thank Hashem. Just thank Hashem that you're not suffering from that, and just like not to think that you're so great, not to think that you're so awesome. But that's number one. That's the number one. Number two, I think, which is equally important, even though he doesn't really speak it out so explicitly, is that because of this, so a person needs to know that you can never really judge anybody. Right. There's an expression. I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's certainly true that don't judge somebody just because their sins are different than yours. Right? You've heard this before. Mm-hmm. That we're quick to say oh my gosh, he's so disgusting, he's such a he's, how could he be so rude, how could he be so disgusting, how could he be so in your face about something, whatever it is, whatever we decide is the sin that cannot be done, and because he doesn't keep Shabbos, because he's openly gay, because whatever it is, the thing that how could you possibly do such a thing, and that's his problem. You have your own problems. You're also not perfect. You also have your own struggles. So you have your struggles, he has his struggles, and who are you to judge that you do sins, he does sins. Yeah, it's true. We all do sins. We all do sins. And so who's to say that Hashem is looking at you and saying, "Oh, I'm so proud of him," and looks at him and says, "Ugh, what a piece of garbage." Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe there's a very fascinating thing that the Mesilas Yesharim writes. That the essence of life is all about how do we deal with our struggles. It's all about we all have the struggles that were dealt with, and we have the struggles that were not dealt with, and it's all about how do you deal with your struggles. So you can have a person that their struggle is lashon hara, Their struggle, like that's the thing that they were sent into this world is in order to overcome their tendency to speak lashon hara, and so Hashem they don't feel an issue when it comes to breaking Shabbos. It's not an issue. When it comes to keeping kosher, it's not an issue. When it comes to Shema Nagia, it's not an issue. And when it comes to lashon hara, that's their thing. And you have another guy that lashon hara is not their thing. And their thing is Shema Nagia. Their thing is Shabbos, whatever it is. So you can have a person that their thing is Shabbos, and for them they're trying to keep Shabbos, and for them that they're keeping Shabbos is that they're not going to smoke more than 5 cigarettes per Shabbos. That's the best that they can do. They're dying. They're managed they can't take more than that. They're like every Shabbos they say, I can't take this anymore. This 5 cigarettes a Shabbos thing is way too much for me. I cannot. I'm like Hashem cannot. But they keep on fighting. They keep on fighting. I'm only going to smoke 5 cigarettes on Shabbos, and for them to only smoke 5 cigarettes on Shabbos, so they are like VIP in Olam Haba. Okay, and you have this other guy that actually his test is not Shabbos because he was keeping Shabbos since 8-0, and his thing is actually lashon hara, and for him he doesn't really care. He doesn't really care. Like he doesn't put up a fight, and he looks. What? And he looks at his friend that's smoking 5 cigarettes on Shabbos, and he happens to catch him at the moment that he's smoking 2 or 3 of his 5, and he looks at him and he says, "Whoa, what a guy! Like you obviously you don't care about Hashem at all, right? You're like, and you're like I guess there's more things more important than Judaism in your life. Like, I guess you like your cigarettes more than you like Torah. Like, I hope you're proud of yourself." And really Hashem is looking at them. He's laughing. This guy, he's my hero. You know how much he's pushing himself to only smoke 5 cigarettes. You're a loser. I've been testing you every day not to speak lashon hara, and you haven't even tried. So he's batting a 99, and you're batting a 0. So that's what this means. Like a person looks at his friend. A person looks at his friend like that. It seems like he has like taivas mammon, taivas achila, whatever it is, and you think like, well, I'm so much better than him. And like Rabbi Nachman is saying that like you're actually not better than him. You know, probably the reason why you're not so obsessed, the reason why you're not obsessed with porn is because you're obsessed with making money. And the truth is that Rabbi Nachman says in other places that the taivas mammon is actually the worst taiva, because it's the hardest to get into. It's the hardest to get out of. Like a person that's addicted to porn and sex, so like they feel like a loser. Like they have these conscience pains. A person that's addicted to wealth, a person who's obsessed with money, so like they never have that feeling of like, that's it, I'm finished. I've had enough of this. Tomorrow I'm just gonna spend time with my family. Like they don't have these thoughts of tshuva, and so the guy that's obsessed with mammon, the guy that's obsessed with wealth, so he's actually in a worse place than the guy that's obsessed with porn, and he's judging the other guy that like, I'm so much better than you. So Rabbi Nachman is saying like, calm down. We all have our struggles, and you should like focus on yourself instead of focusing on other people, and you should know that like we're all on our own journeys. All right, that's Torah Nun Vav. That's Torah Nun Vav, that a person has to know that there's a lot of things going on underneath the picture. Okay, Nun Zayin, 57. Rabbi Nachman related that when he was younger, so he had an extreme fear of death. And it was mamish, something that was like bothering him, and it was trepidation, it was anxiety. So how did he deal with his fear of death? So he would ask Hashem, he would plead with Hashem that he should die as a martyr. As a martyr. To die al kiddush Hashem. That he should die, that one day Hashem, please cause that one day, who was around him? I don't know if Christians or Muslims were around him, but who?
Ottomans. And you're talking about in Israel?
No, in
Ukraine?
in Ukraine, yeah.
It's bizarre, no?
Right? So it was Christians.
I mean, Russian Orthodox.
Okay, so he was hoping that some Christian would walk up to him one day and put a gun to his head and say, "You better convert to Christianity." And he would say, "No, never." He said, "If you don't convert to Christianity, I'm going to shoot." And he was going to say, "Shoot! I'm ready. I'm ready." It says that the Bet Yosef, the Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo. So he writes in Magid Misharim, he writes that this is like a little bit differently. He writes that this is a dream of his. This is like sometimes his deepest desire is that with him it was the Muslims that the Turks that with him it was before, I don't know if it was before, maybe it was actually before they had guns, but he talked about a sword in his time. So he was his deepest dream was that some Muslim would say, convert to Islam or else, and he said, and I would stick out my neck and say, "Here, what do you say? Cut my throat, go for it." So this is a dream of Kiddush Hashem, but it's a little bit different because the Beit Yosef, so he was doing it from a place of like excitement, and Rabbi Nachman it was from a place of being terrified. He was mamish terrified of dying. So he would use this desire of wanting to die al Kiddush Hashem as a way to deal with his intense fear of death in general. So this was his avodah, this was his way of dealing with this fear. That for over a year, this was the only thing on his mind is that he only wanted the Hashem should kill him HaKadosh Hashem. Like this was every time he spoke to Hashem, this was always what's on his mind. Like how's it going? He wouldn't say Baruch Hashem. He would say, "How's it going?" I don't know. I'm thinking about being killed as a martyr. That was what he was. When we go to Pachta v'Yosef min Amisa, Hayazeh be'atzmos l'mesiras nefesh l'Kiddush Hashem mamish ma'Hashem mispal al zeh. Ki ha'Pachta gadol ma'od oz mizeh. And so Rabbi Nachman writes that because Rabbi Nachman was so petrified of death, so for him to ask Hashem to kill him was mamish like dying. Like his fear of death was so great that to face it face to face was like dying. So it was as if he was killing himself by the fact that he was asking Hashem that he should die al Kiddush Hashem. Okay. So this is the first point. The first point in Torah and Zion is that the concept of death, of fear of death. The concept of fear of death. So first of all, Rabbi Nachman says that it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing to be afraid of death, and he's totally telling his students, presumably because he wants them to know that it's a normal thing, that you don't have to be, don't think it's crazy, don't think you're weird if you're afraid of dying. Okay, so this is something that in our generation we have this. What's it called? Hypochondriac? Yeah. Is a person that they're always that whenever they have like a cold, whenever they have something, like they're always assume that it's the worst. They assume they must have some terminal illness, and they always are like it's always like whatever happen, like whatever clue, whatever hint they might get to the fact that they might be on the way to dying. So like they always assume that. Okay, so this is certainly coming from a certain This is coming from a certain fear of death. That the fear of death expresses itself in the fact that they always assume that they're actually going to die.
Asymptomatic people during COVID.
Okay, yeah. I've actually had this. I've actually I don't think I'm a hypochondriac, but because I'm a very healthy person, so like when something is weird, so like I think like, oh my gosh, like I remember I had I was going to the mikveh one day, and I was feeling pressure in my head from being underwater. So I told myself, oh my gosh, this is for sure a tumor, chas v'shalom. And I was that davening, that day, after I was dealing with the fact that okay, this might be my last davening, I might not drowning in the mikveh, no, because I was thinking maybe I have some brain tumor and because they say there's people that die in their sleeps. The people that die in their sleep, and when a lot of people that die in their sleep, oftentimes it's because they had some undiagnosed tumor in their brain, and that's why they died. So I was thinking oh my gosh, I have no idea if feeling pressure underwater has anything to do with the tumor whatsoever. Probably not. But I'm just saying that I also had this experience of I don't think it's so weird. I don't think it's so weird, especially with people who are generally healthy. So anyway, so first of all, he wants us to know that that is normal, and but fear in general is a bad thing. Rabbi Nachman writes, that he writes the most important thing in life is to have no fear at all. So included in that is to overcome our fear of death. And FYI, Rabbi Nachman, he actually succeeded in overcoming his fear of death, because it says elsewhere. I was looking for this before, but I couldn't find it. But I know for a fact that he once told his students that dying, it's not a big deal. It's when you die, it's just like moving apartments. It's like moving apartments So now the source of all your fear of moving apartments. It's all because you're saying, oh my gosh, this is the real one. This is maybe. So he says that now I'm living here and now I'm living there. And he pointed apparently outside his window was the cemetery. Maybe that's why he's so scared of death, because he's So he said now I'm living here, then I'm living there, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, and so for a person who's ready to die, so it's not a big deal. It's just moving on. It's the next stage. It's the next stage. I saw an interesting thing when I was preparing for the class. I saw that Freud says that it's impossible for a person to be afraid of death, because it's impossible for a person to actually envision not existing. So Freud didn't believe Freud believed that when you die, then you stop existing, and that's why he thought that it's impossible to actually imagine not existing. But it's so fascinating because to us we know that you actually don't stop existing when you die. So that's the Rabbi Nachman's imagery of just okay, now I'm here, then I'm there. That's really real. And yet. So, I think, I once heard a class about the afterlife, about the fact that there is a life after death, and they actually used Freud's idea that it's impossible for a human being to imagine himself not existing. The thought that we just stop existing is something it's foreign to our consciousness, and he didn't think for a moment that maybe that's because it's actually non-existent. He didn't think that maybe that's a proof that actually we do exist after we die, because that was beyond him. Anyway, so he said because he thought that pure death is something that's not possible for a person to fear, and that's why it just shows up in other kinds of anxieties. But anyway, I think that the fear of death is something that we deal with, and it's certainly unhealthy if it's extreme. If a person is going to be super self-conscious, not to do things which are healthy things to do because he's scared that he's going to die if he does them. A person is not going to go to social gatherings because he might get COVID and die, and that's why he's not good. So that's certainly borderline mental illness, and so if a person, I would like to believe that the reason that it's more it's more that he didn't want that. No, there was this thing going around that there. It's not that I don't want to get sick. It's that I don't want to get other people sick.
Right.
That's beautiful. That's like there's beauty in that. But for a person to say like, no, I can't go to the supermarket because I might die. Like that's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you're already dead. Like this is like so there's a certain unhealthy fear of death. Like a person is never going to go on a roller coaster because they're scared he's going to die. A person is not going to. You ever read the warnings on medicines?
Yeah.
So
Well, they say it in every commercial.
You might have this might cause you to lose your sight. This might cause you to have
there's an antidepressant. One of the side effects is suicidal tendencies.
Okay.
Either way, you won't be depressed anymore. So.
And so, there's lots of it might cause occasional seizures. It might cause this, or possibly death. So a person's not going to take any medicines. A person's not going to take any antibiotic when he has a virus because the side effects of the medicine. I don't know really why they write these things because it certainly could scare a person. But
It's true.
thank you.
No, some of the things are true. Some people are taking too many pills.
The chances of dying from the antibiotic is less than the chances of getting hit by a car. So
apparently it happened because they put it on the box. If it didn't happen ever,
it's all money. It's all that they don't want to get sued. They're going to sue it. But
It's not only that. It's
the guy that died because of the antibiotic, he was going to die anyway. If it wouldn't have been the antibiotic, it would have been the cornflakes. So
using medicines all the time, using pills is made your health system weak. You need medicine all the time. Your body needs to get used to it.
I'm just saying you should do whatever the doctor says you should probably do, and to be scared of the possible side effects. So that's a little bit. Now. So when it comes to fear of death, we agree that there's a certain unhealthy fear of death, right? But there's also a healthy fear of death. Okay, what's a healthy fear of death? And this is there's a guy named Ernest Becker that he put into psychotherapy called terror management theory, and he talked about different ways to deal with terror, with extreme fear of things in a healthy way, and so his idea was basically to turn it around, to twist around the very thing that you're fearing, and look at it as a way to catapult you forward in making the most of the situation, right? Meaning that a person is feared of death, so instead of being afraid of death, so let's make the most of our life. Okay, that's a very beautiful thing. Meaning, if the fact that I'm realizing that I'm not going to live forever, and that's going to force me to make the most of my life, to achieve things, to achieve some kind of stability, to achieve some kind of sense of belonging. So that then is a positive thing. Then the fact that I'm realizing that I'm one day I'm not going to be here, so that's going to actually bring me to a better place. Okay, that's one. So that's one way of dealing with the fear of death. And I think Rabbi Nachman, so instead of switching our perspective, so Rabbi Nachman is actually proposing something else. And what he was doing was, in psychological terms, is exposure therapy. He had a fear of death. So how did he want to deal with his fear of death? He wanted to just look it in the eyes. And he was like, I'm going to think about dying all the time. And that's but what did he do? He put a positive twist on it. He said, I'm going to die al Kiddush Hashem. I'm going to die al Kiddush Hashem. I'm going to die as a mitzvah. And die as a mitzvah. So first of all, he redefined the death as from something negative to something positive. It doesn't make it less scary. Because the reason why he was scared of death, he doesn't say why he was scared of death. It probably wasn't that he was scared of not existing. He probably didn't think he's not going to exist. It was just it was an undefined fear.
Right.
It was an undefined fear. It's irrational, right? People have fear of spiders. People have fear of heights. Heights is obviously you could just fall, but spiders is an irrational fear. There's lots of other fears, what's it called when enclosed areas, claustrophobic. There's certainly irrational fears. So most probably his fear was irrational. So his first step was to at least to make it a mitzvah, to make it that there's something positive about this negative thing, and secondly, what he would do is that he was purposefully looking it in the face. Okay, which is like we said, that this is what we call exposure therapy, and apparently it worked. So, because, like I said, that by the end of his career, by the end of his life, so he was okay. He was at peace. So I think this is more what in therapy they would call ACT, which is acceptance commitment theory, that to just to say that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have this situation that I'm afraid, and I don't have to struggle with the fear. I don't have to try to undo the fear. Whereas, in the terror management theory, I was trying to undo the fear. I was saying, let's not focus on the fact that you're dying. Let's just have a positive expression to the fact that your life is going to end. And Rabbi Nachman, on the other hand, acceptance theory is saying that it's okay that I'm afraid. It's okay I can deal with the fear. I can deal with the fact that I'm afraid. It's not fear is a part of life. It's even positive. If it wouldn't be for fear of death, then we would do dangerous things. We wouldn't be afraid to drive drunk and to do stupid things and by the way, with fear of death, we were talking about fear of our own death. It's just as common to be afraid of other people's deaths. To be a person that someone that's close to them is scaring them that they might die, and the person has an undefined fear of that person leaving them, and a fear of that person leaving them alone, and having this feeling of not knowing how to deal with the future. So Rabbi Nachman is suggesting just look it in the face. And it's okay. To practice dealing with it. It's something that you're not looking at is much scarier than something that you are looking at. And so to be able to look face to face with the fact that death is a part of life. Death is a part of life. So that's something that is something that can just make it more digestible. Something that we can take it, just to accept it. It's not something that I need to say is the outside, something that I can't deal with. I think I told you about this recently. That I was once talking to some girl who was telling me about these friends of hers that killed themselves, and I was totally in shock. I was speechless. I was to the point that she kept on talking. I didn't understand. I wasn't listening to what she was saying. I was just so in shock. And then I realized afterwards that she unfortunately has a lot of suicide as part of her life. She herself tried to kill herself twice, so I realized afterwards that this thing that I was in shock, and I was just not there anymore. That was some kind of defense mechanism of myself to try to convince myself that things like that can't really happen. That's crazy. That's out there. That's impossible. And because I'm in the nice rosy world that I would like to create for myself, things like that don't exist. So when I hear that it does exist, so what's my response? No. It's that can't be. Keep it out. And but the truth is that I'm living in a fantasy land. The truth is that that's part of life. The truth is that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of evil, and there's a lot of horrible things, and I think Rabbi Nachman is suggesting that don't pretend it doesn't exist. Don't pretend that you're freaking out. Accept the fact that it's a part of life. Accept that become this greater person that is not freaked out from it just because you understand that it's actually a part of life. I think it's possible that this is part of what there's a midrash. It's it says in Mesachas Da'acharetz, it's brought down in Shari Tshuva from Rabbeinu Yena, that Chazal say, "V'tzoncha shelo tamut," if you would like not to die, mut ad shelo tamut. If you want to be eternal, if you want to live forever. So what's my advice? Chazal say, mut ad shelo tamut. So die before you die. Kill yourself before kill yourself when you're still alive. And so, there's different interpretations of what this means, but I think this is possibly what they mean to say, that the way to overcome death, like death is this curse. Like the whole concept of death, it comes from the snake, it comes from sin, it comes from evil, and if you want to overcome this, what I mean to say is that death represents everything bad. Death represents the whole dark side of reality. That's the quintessential expression of the dark side of reality is death, and so it's natural that we're scared of it. And so if you want to not die, if you want to just overcome that fear, so mutat shelo tamut. So just accept it. Just accept that death is part of life. Okay, and that's the way to overcome it. Like lahavdil alfei havdalas. So this is something that was a topic of fascination by J.K. Rowling, and the last part of Harry Potter was mamash about death, and so she promoted the good guys versus the bad guys, and it's mamash this, that the bad guys, so Voldemort, so he was afraid of death, and his way of dealing with his fear of death was that he wanted to live forever. So he divided his soul into 7 parts, and the Horcruxes, whatever. And so, because he couldn't deal with the fact that one day he would die. You know Harry Potter? No. So that was his way of dealing with death. Like, he wants to actually live forever. I'd rather live a meaningless life, a soulless life, but as long as because I can't deal with the fact that one day I won't exist. And the good guys, namely, what was his name? Dumbledore. So his way, of dealing with he was teaching Harry Potter, that the way to overcome death is to not be afraid of death and to just accept death. And so I think that to a certain extent that's what Rabbi Nachman is saying over here, that the way to overcome death is not to think that I need to outsmart death. I'm gonna be the one that's gonna exercise so much and be to make sure never eat white sugar my entire life, and that's how I'm going to overcome death. Rabbi Nachman is saying just accept that death is part of life, and that's how you're going to be overcome. And that's how it causes us to be able to make the most of our life. It causes us to be able to live meaningful lives, and it causes us to have peace of mind, to understand that we die, ashes, we all fall down, and so that's how I think what Rabbi Nachman is saying over here in terms of dealing with particularly the fear of death. However, Rabbi Nachman takes it to the next level, and he says as follows. He says, Umeyanal Hivanti, from this whole story, from this whole thing of Rabbi Nachman, what he was telling us about his dealing with the fear of death, that if anybody has a particular issue that is a very strong challenge by him, so he needs to know that is exactly what he needs to sacrifice for Hashem. Okay? Because this is his main purpose in life. This is his main mission in life. So he says that this is what Chazal mean when they say it says in Shema that you have to love Hashem with your soul and with all of your ma'od, with all of your whatever. So Chazal say, what does it mean with whatever? That it means your money. What does it mean your money? Because some people that they value their life, and to those people that value life, so Hashem says you have to even give up your life for Hashem. But some people, their life is okay, they don't mind dying. But for them, they value their money. And so Hashem tells them, you have to give up your money for Hashem. So he understood from that Chazal were saying that like everybody has their own challenges, and whatever is their challenge, that is their mission in life. Okay? So in other words, Reb Nosson is saying that he was understanding from Reb Nachman that this is actually an amazing inspiration, amazing like direction in life. If a person wants to know what am I here for? What does Hashem want from me? What does Hashem want from me? So there's a tradition like this from the Vilna Gaon as well. That you want to know what is your mission in life. Whatever is the thing that's hardest for you, that's your mission in life. So a person could say that, like what we said before, like I'm good at not speaking Lashon Hara. I'm good at keeping kosher. My problem is just it's really hard for me. So I'm going to give. So I'm batting 90. Like that's pretty good, So Rabbi Nachman says that no, if that's your hardest thing, that means that is exactly the thing that you're here for. That means that's when the spotlight is on you. That's mamish when the spotlight is on you. Another person, so their thing is like that they're a little bit lazy. Like their thing is getting out of bed. Their thing is like they feel like they're always like heaviness. So that is their mission in life, to overcome that heaviness. That person is always a little bit negative. The person is always critical. The person is, and like they're okay. Like they don't speak Lashon Hara. They don't get angry. They're just always pointing out people's faults. And so, like your mission in life is to overcome that. Your mission in life is to become more positive. It's so easy to judge ourselves favorably and say, you're such a good Jew. You're such a good Jew. You're such a good guy. Like you're always like you're always keeping kosher. You're always doing this. You're never speaking Lashon Hara. You're just a little bit depressed. Like it's okay. I'm sure there was other tzaddikim. They're also depressed. And I said, no. That's the one thing you're struggling with because that's your entire purpose why you're alive. That's the entire reason why you're in this world. And like it's a crazy thing to think about. That it's not about if it's big or small. It's just it's what you were here for. Now this is a crazy story that like it's a little intense. Like it's intense to the point that like it doesn't make sense to me. But I don't think it's really true. But this is like I want to take something away from it. That Shlomo Carlebach said a story that the Baal Shem Tov had a student. His name was Rav Hillel Lakes, and so once the Rav Hillel, so he wanted to be by the Rebbe for Rosh Hashanah, and so he's traveling, and it's like 2 weeks travel to get to the Rebbe, to get to the Baal Shem Tov. On the way, so the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, so they tell him that there's this little village, and he say, "Oh, I'm so happy a Jew is here. We're 9 people, and we need. Maybe I'm saying this wrong. I think it was on the way for Yom Kippur, and like it was almost at Yom Kippur, and he wanted to say, oh, we don't have a minyan for Yom Kippur, and the Mamish, we need you. You're the 10th person. If you stay with us, then we'll have a minyan for Yom Kippur. Please. And he says, hey, you're crazy. I'm on the way to the Baal Shem Tov. I've been traveling for 2 weeks to go to the Baal Shem Tov. So they leave him, and he comes to the Baal Shem Tov, and he says, Rebbe, I'm so happy to see you. And the Baal Shem Tov is like Mamish called to him. He's like looks away and like, go away, go. I don't have time for you. And like the whole Yom Kippur, so he's like mamish ignoring him, and then before he goes, so he's saying, so he says, Rebbe, like, what do I do? Like, why you're always like so loving to me? And he says, it's such a shame. You don't understand. The entire reason why you came into this world was to be the 10th man for that little village before you came, and because you wanted to be with me for Yom Kippur, so you failed your entire mission in life. Like, isn't that sad? Isn't that the reason I don't like the story is because I would do the same thing. Like I would if I thought that right now, like I didn't go away from my family to be with some strangers, like that's your problem. That maybe there's a reason why nobody wants to live with you. Maybe this is really a messed up town. Maybe you should actually go to the next town and be with them. Maybe the reason why nobody wants to be with you from Kippur is because you guys are just the most boring, uninspiring people in the entire Ukraine. So maybe go to the next. Maybe you should come with me. Come with me to the Baal Shem Tov. Maybe that's what you're that's what I would think. If a person if you don't have a minions in Achlot, there's a lot of these small Sephardi minions. They're all they all have 9. So they're all standing hey, come finish our minion. Who says you have to? Maybe you come to my minion. So anyway, so that's why I really like the story, but I think it's certainly sobering to think that we never really know. There's a certain something that we were sent down into this world, and this is our mission, and we have to make sure that we're not messing up, and we can't be so quick to be so judging ourselves favorably that we're doing so well, because you never know. It could be that this is exactly the one thing that you're struggling with. Could be that's the only thing that matters. And we think that we scored 99 today because we did pretty good. And really, the one time that the spotlight was on us, so that was the time that we messed up. So this is what I think. I think it's a huge thing that Reb Nachman is telling us. That we have to be aware of the fact that the things that are hard, so those are the things we have to face them head on. We have to not be afraid to tackle our challenges, even our darkest demons, and even the things that we think are mamish, we can't deal with them. That he was telling us that he was the most scared, he was terrified, he was petrified of death, and he was able to take it on head on. And so he's telling us that, do whatever it is the thing that you're scared. How could I start to do with that? I'm gonna freak out. I can't manage. So you can manage. You can figure it out. The first thing is to face it head on. The first thing is to accept the fact that you're not going to just let it be. You're going to deal with it. Once you accept that you're going to deal with it, then Hashem will send us the path, send us the way, how to do it, little steps, baby steps, be able to whatever it is the mind frame that we need to accept in order to overcome it. But Hashem will send us the right way to deal with it. And B'ezrat Hashem, that by looking our fears, looking our problems in the face, so that is going to be mamish exactly what we need in order to overcome them. B'ezrat Hashem.